So now here are the federal partners that are involved in this program. The University of Florida participated in it, as well as the Department of Transportation. And Florida was actually the first state that was mapped for this. Now here is an explanation of this. And we have one echo hub here, and we have one echo hub there. Generally speaking, 5,000 acres or larger. We have what is called an interconnecting corridor, and we want animals in this area and whatever seed from whatever plant to be able to travel through this interconnecting corridor to the other hub so that their gene pool is not degraded over the next 1,000 years. Now that's the philosophy behind it. We also don't want them to come in contact with humankind at all, or even know that we exist. So now here are more PowerPoint presentations. This one was actually created by the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration. It is for Charles County, Maryland, just across the river of the Potomac, real close to Washington, D.C. Now, if you go to the Virginia Outdoors Plan, 2007, Chapter 4, page 47, you will see that graphics right there. And you will be able to read the description about which I'm talking currently. Now, on this slideshow presentation, it says that the hubs anchor the system, that the links tie together, that's the interconnecting corridor, and we're going to have smaller areas that may not be attached. So we could have a small hub that would not have an interconnecting corridor. Well, which lands are involved in this? Well, it happens to be public, private, and nonprofit. How big is it going to be? Well, it's going to be statewide, regional, and community. And then we're going to include urban, suburban, and rural and wild. I don't know if a parcel of land is not included in this. So now we're going to apply a few more graphics from this particular slideshow presentation dealing with the core areas. We want to make sure that the core area contains fully functional, natural ecosystems and provide high-quality habitat, and say human beings, for native plants and animals. Now, native plants, we're going to make sure that invasive species do not grow or exist in these hubs. So anything that was brought here by European man is an invasive species and has to be removed. Then we have generally what is called buffer zones. People will be able to be permitted to go into these areas on a regulated basis only. Then we have the interconnecting corridors. And here now we have applied that graphics to an actual aerial photograph, and it says corridors link core areas together and allow animal movement and seed and pollen transfer between them. Just exactly what I just said, except I hope I made it a little bit plainer language. Now here is a photograph or a depiction of an interconnecting corridor. Notice it says that linear features linking core areas wind through human-dominated land like agriculture or development, allow animal, seed, pollen movement between the cores. That's what the federal government has adopted and is implementing through all of these regulations and these memorandums of understanding. This is what Charles County, Maryland will look like after everything is all said and done. Now, this is a map of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Remember, Virginia is not mapped. Now, I'm going to punch the button, and I'm going to allow the Southeastern Ecological Framework to fade in on the states that have already been mapped, and you'll see how much land is actually taken. Wow. So now, there is a very, very faint green that is almost imperceptible. You probably can't see it. It's all over the place. These are called SEAs or PEAs, priority ecological areas or significant ecological areas, and they hold the same criteria as do the hubs and the interconnected corridors. Now this is the Southeastern Ecological Framework. This is Virginia, and I pulled the map dealing with conservation easements from the Virginia Outdoor Plan. This says that in 2006, the Virginia Outdoor Foundation held more than 2,000 conservation easements throughout the state. And this is a map of those conservation easements. I don't know whether it was private land, federal. I think it was a combination of everything. And it says that there are more than 30 regional and private land trusts now working to get more conservation easements. Conservation easements are an entrapment of property owners. They think that they are garnering some kind of safety by doing this and getting a tax break. Well, let me tell you what happened in Colorado with this particular issue. The state passed a tax break for people that could put their property in conservation easements. There were a number of families that had large amount of land, over 200,000 acres, and they wanted to preserve it. It sounds wonderful. I want to preserve this for future generations. I don't want it to change. Well, the state gave them a tax break. They had an appraiser to come out and assess how much the development rights were, or conservation easements, for their property. And they gave them a tax break. Well, several years brought by, the state becomes all of a sudden in dire straits. So they turn around and disavow the accreditation of those appraisers. And they say, now you owe us for all of those taxes, those years that you got free. Well, guess what the federal government did? They wanted to get on the deal too. So they joined in the suit with the state government, and these people are losing their property because they've been assessed the taxes that the state has now disavowed. And I don't, the last I heard, they were not winning. They were definitely losing. So now let me pick up on energy and sustainability. And here is an Alabama Power survey that I received in the mail. You can go down to the Alabama Power Company, pick up a copy, go online, and they want to know how many screw-in fluorescent light bulbs I have, how many people live in my house, how many air conditioning units I have, just a whole host of things dealing with my home. I really think they already have all the information, but they wanted it. So I sent the woman that was in charge of this a question, and I said, Ms. Smith, regarding Alabama Power's customer survey, will the information that I provide by taking the survey help in determining my household's ecological footprint? And how will the information that is collectively gathered be factored in the greenhouse credits that enable Alabama Power to produce electricity sustainably? And then I said, I believe that sustainable development is truly an untold story. I hope that Alabama Power can do their part in bringing this important issue to the forefront of public discussion. So, Ms. Smith wrote me back and she said, first, regarding your household's ecological footprint, your usage for the past 12 months was 11,548 kilowatts, so Alabama Power had to produce 6.93 metric tons of CO2 in order for you to live your current lifestyle. Then she said, regarding the larger picture, sustainable development, Alabama Power has many initiatives, and she sent me several links dealing with their initiatives in sustainable development. So I know they're gearing up to swap, if not already swapping greenhouse credits, and this is going to be a big problem. We're going to have brownouts. I have no doubt about that. And in Alabama, we have the Public Service Commission. I don't know if we have one here, but we're trying to contact those people that are on that commission and make them aware of what's actually going on. Whether or not we have any impact, I don't know, but we certainly won't have an impact if we don't try. So now here is an article out of the Sunday Times, April the 20th of 2010, front page article. It says the National Grid System. If you don't already know that you have a smart meter, go out and look at your meter. I guarantee you got one. I do. And it says that smart meter can take control of your dishwasher. Very first sentence, the system, will be able to turn on your washing machine remotely, to switch off your tumble dryer, and manage how and when you use your electrical supply system. So how bad will it get? I mean, how encroaching will these comprehensive plans become? Now, this one is from Cullen, Alabama, a rather small community, very nice community in North Alabama. And this is a 2008 updated draft version. They went into financial hardship and they fired or let the planner go. Good for them. I'm glad they did that. Over the course of several years, they had several different planners. The initial planner wrote the comprehensive plan and used the language that you're about to see. The next planner came in and duplicated it. He didn't drop it out. So there's continuity between planners on thoughts about what this language says and what they think they have the power and authority to do. So now here is verbatim. It says the city has 3 critical powers that enable implementation of the sustainable principles in that comprehensive plan. They first are the police powers, taxation, then budgeting and eminent domain. The use of police power include the actions that address. Now, when I punch the button, you're going to see a word come on, and I'm going to make a comment about that particular word. This word is aesthetics. In this case, there will likely be a stakeholder committee that comes to look at the outside of your home or your business to determine if it's aesthetically pleasing to you. Now, in Gunnersville, Alabama, there was a beauty shop owner, had a beauty shop on the Main Street, and she had a very low storefront, brick about knee-high. And she painted the front of that pink. Her mother had breast cancer. It was in honor of breast cancer, to bring awareness about breast cancer. The local code enforcement officer said that it did not meet the core of the city and fined her and required her to change it. Now, there was such an uproar about what the code enforcement officer, the mayor, and everybody else had to say about it that they finally backed off. But believe me, this is going to become a very important issue. Profitable use. What is profitable use? Well, are you guilty of unjust enrichment? So now I'm going to show you. Here's the one. Unjust enrichment. Now this goes to the 1976 Habitat 1 conference held in Vancouver, Canada. And in a few minutes I'm going to explain how unjust enrichment can occur. It's interesting that the 2 lead delegates to this conference were Carl Hills. She would negotiate NAFTA under Bush, and then William K. Riley. He would become the EPA director under Bush, and he was hired by Obama to oversee the Gulf oil spill under BP. So now we have people that have long service. Now, anybody that agrees with what you're about to see, I don't think, they may call themselves an American, but I don't think they are. Now, I also want to bring to mind this graphics. You see Mother Earth is caressing, gently caressing human settlements. Thought it was a very kind thing to include in that graphic. Now, land, because of its unique nature and crucial role it plays in human settlements, cannot be treated as an ordinary asset controlled by individuals and subject to the pressures and inefficiencies of the market. The free enterprise system is definitely going to be trashed. Private land ownership is also a principal instrument of accumulation and concentration of wealth, and therefore contributes to social injustice. If unchecked, in other words, if we allow this situation to continue, it may become a major obstacle in the planning and implementation of development schemes. Social justice, urban renewal, and development, the provision of decent dwellings and healthy conditions for the people can only be achieved if land is used in the interest of society as a whole. Therefore, public land or public control of land is indispensable. Now, I don't believe an American, a true American, would go and agree to this plan of action. And let me say, when I read this, I did not believe it. I said, this is a lie. And I wanted to prove it wrong. So it was all over the internet at the time when this came out, among people that are watching these things. So I found out that the United Nations has a depository library, a system across the world. Tallahassee, University of Florida at Tallahassee, is a depository library. I contacted them and I said, send me the entire plan of action for this conference, and I want to know who was the delegates and who were the NGOs that participated in this. Well, they sent it to me, and sure enough, what we just read and talked about is in that plan of action.